He thought he'd never see his canine again, until one day he walked into a market and saw his missing dog for sale for just $1. Tied up like a stray, Rex stared at him with eyes full of fear. What happened next would shock the whole town and change everything. Officer Jack had always been the kind of man who worked tirelessly, never backing down from a challenge. But there was one thing that kept him going through the long hours and tough days. His canine partner, Rex. They had a bond that most people would envy. They weren't just a team, they were family. From the very first day Jack had met Rex, he knew that this German Shepherd was no ordinary dog. Rex had a quiet confidence and an incredible intuition that made him one of the best police dogs on the force. For years, the two of them had worked side by side, solving cases and tracking down criminals. Jack would often joke that Rex was more reliable than most of his human colleagues. He was a trusted partner, a protector, and a loyal friend. But then, one fateful day, Rex vanished. It happened during a routine patrol, a call that had come in about a suspicious person. No one knew what happened, and the clock was ticking. Every day, without Rex, was a blow to Jack's spirit. The town, which had grown to love Rex, rallied together to search. But as weeks passed, hope began to fade. It was a cold afternoon when Officer Jack found himself walking through the town's market, his thoughts still heavy with the uncertainty of his missing partner. Today, he was trying to keep his mind busy, hoping the distraction would ease the gnawing pain in his chest. But then, something caught his eye. At first, it was just a dog tied to a post, nothing out of the ordinary. There were always dogs in the market, people selling puppies, and strays roaming around. Yet, as Jack's gaze lingered, his heartbeat quickened. Something about this dog seemed familiar. It wasn't the breed, though it was certainly a striking German Shepherd, but the way the dog stood, alert and watchful, just like Rex always did. Jack stepped forward, the noise of the market fading in the background as his mind raced. As he got closer, his heart skipped a beat. There, tied to the post, was Rex. His eyes were wide, his body tense. But what shocked Jack even more was the sign next to him. For sale. $1. His breath caught in his throat. Rex? No, it couldn't be. He hadn't seen his partner in weeks, and now here he was, abandoned, tied up like some stray animal. Jack felt the cold sting of disbelief wash over him. Rex? Officer Jack stood frozen for a moment, his eyes locked on Rex. The dog was staring at him with that familiar, trusting look, but there was something different about him, something wrong. Rex's fur was matted, his body thinner than Jack remembered. His heart was hammering in his chest, and a wave of emotions hit him all at once: relief, anger, confusion. But then his training kicked in. He couldn't just stand there. He needed answers. Jack quickly moved toward the vendor, his face hardening with a determination that only someone who had lost their partner could understand. The seller, a middle-aged man with a weathered face and a greasy apron, looked up from his table of knickknacks, clearly taken aback by the officer's sudden appearance. "What's going on here?" Jack's voice was firm, though his insides were a storm of emotions. He pointed to Rex. "That dog, he's mine." The man raised an eyebrow, clearly uninterested. "I don't know what you're talking about, officer. Found this dog at the shelter a few weeks ago. He was in rough shape, so I brought him here to sell. I just wanted to make a few bucks. He's a good dog." Jack's blood boiled at the casual tone, but he didn't react. "He's a police dog," Jack said, his voice tight. "His name is Rex. He's been missing for weeks." The vendor scoffed, shaking his head. "You can't just claim a dog as yours because you say so. If you want him, buy him. It's only $1. Jack's fist clenched. Something wasn't right, and he wasn't leaving without answers. The first thing Jack did was call in backup, knowing this wasn't just a simple case of a lost dog. Something far bigger was going on here. A S-word spread throughout the market. The crowd around Officer Jack and the vendor began to grow. People whispered, some expressing shock at the sight of Rex tied to the post, others frowning in confusion. The market, normally a place of friendly exchanges, had suddenly become a hive of uncertainty. It wasn't long before a small group of locals had gathered, eyeing the scene with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Isn't that the officer's canine?" one woman whispered to her friend. "The one who went missing? I heard about it on the news." Jack could barely hear the hushed voices around him, his attention fixed on Rex. His dog, his partner, was standing there, battered and bruised, but still alive. The anger that had started to burn within him only intensified. Rex had been through so much, and yet here he was, reduced to being sold for $1 like some commodity. It was unthinkable. A man in the crowd, a regular at the market, stepped forward. "That's Rex. He's a hero," he said, pointing to the German shepherd. "He saved lives, and now someone's trying to sell him? That's wrong." Jack felt the weight of the crowd's gaze, their collective outrage palpable. Some people began shouting, demanding answers, while others offered their support to Jack. It was clear that the community cared deeply about Rex, just as much as they cared about Jack. The whole town seemed to be standing with him, ready to take action. Jack's mind raced as he pieced together the details. It all started to make sense. Rex had been stolen from the police force and sold off to a group involved in dogfighting and illegal animal trade. Jack couldn't believe it at first, but the more they uncovered, the clearer it became. Rex wasn't just abandoned or lost. He had been taken deliberately. The more they investigated, the more they discovered that Rex's disappearance wasn't a random act. He had been sold off by the criminal network to be used in illegal activities. Jack's fists clenched at the thought. His partner, his friend, had been forced into a world of violence and neglect. How could anyone do this to an innocent dog? How could they take something so pure and twist it into something dark? As the pieces fell into place, the officers uncovered even more disturbing details. Rex had been living in horrendous conditions, barely surviving the abuse. But he was a survivor. Jack knew that better than anyone. Despite everything he had endured, Rex was still standing, still fighting. The bond between them, the years of trust and partnership, had never truly been broken. Jack fought to keep his emotions in check. This wasn't just about a missing dog anymore. This was about exposing a criminal operation and bringing those responsible to justice. He stood there for a moment, looking at Rex, who was now resting at his feet, his eyes soft but alert, and he made a promise to himself. They would bring these people down, and Rex would never suffer like that again. The townspeople, who had once feared the worst, now celebrated the return of their K9 hero. Flowers were placed at the police station in Rex's honor, and a local bakery even made dog-shaped cookies to show their appreciation. Jack couldn't believe how much love the town had shown for Rex, a dog who had become a symbol of everything good about their community. As for Rex, his recovery was slow but steady. He had endured more than anyone could imagine, but with Officer Jack by his side, the two of them began to rebuild the bond they had once shared. Jack took Rex to the vet regularly, ensuring that his partner was getting the care he needed. The physical scars would eventually fade, but the emotional scars ran deep. Jack knew that the road to full recovery would be a long one for Rex, but he was willing to be patient. For Jack, the return of Rex wasn't just about getting his partner back. It was a reminder of how strong the bond between them truly was. No matter what they faced, together, they could overcome anything. Rex had saved Jack's life countless times. Now, Jack had saved Rex's. Their story was far from over. From the moment Rex disappeared to the moment they were reunited, their bond had been tested in ways neither of them had expected. But through it all, Jack realized something. Rex wasn't just a partner. He was family. Their story wasn't just about crime fighting or rescue. It was about loyalty, sacrifice, and love. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack whispered softly to Rex, "We've made it, buddy. And we'll always make it together."